Hey guys, it's David here, back again with another podcast, and today I have Christopher Gordon. He has, I'm going to try to pronounce this, see if I can pronounce this correctly. Necrotizing Phyllis. Oh, it's hard to pronounce, but I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I'm just going to say it's called NF, and he's going to fill us in. So, Chris, welcome. I look forward to hearing your story and sharing it with the audience, and I'll let you take over.
Well, thanks, David. I really appreciate the opportunity. And as we're recording this, Happy New Year. I still am in the Christmas spirit with my Life Day sweater. So I really am feeling it being on your show. So I greatly appreciate it. Yes, it is called Necrotizing Fasciitis.
Fasciitis,
Which
okay.
is a really fancy way of saying flesh-eating bacteria.
And then how did that happen exactly? What happened? Was it through I guess through something you were doing, an activity, or it just happened one day all of a sudden?
It was through the activity of helping my wife get my kids in the van so she could take them to school and daycare. Nothing crazy. I wasn't down in any kind of bog full of hazardous bacteria. I was doing my everyday duties as a dad. I teach online for a public online middle school here in Minnesota. And so every day at that time, I would help my wife Becky by getting the kids into the van so they can go to their respective places. Well, I was flying my young son Seth back and forth to the detached garage, and I veered too far to the right. I scraped the back of my right hand on my garage wall. And I've had scrapes before. I'm a boy, or at least a former one. And so I didn't think anything of it. I put him in the van. I kissed them all goodbye. As soon as they left, I went to the house. I washed off my wound, and I started my day teaching online. Well, that was on a Wednesday. 3 days later, on a Saturday morning, I woke up and I saw a large lacrosse ball-shaped bump on my right elbow. Now, I don't usually wake up like that, David, so I thought it was kind of weird. So I went to the urgent care room, or the urgent care in our local hospital here in New Ulm, Minnesota. And they said, well, it might be bursitis. Keep an eye on it and let us know if anything has changed. Well, within a span of 10 hours, something definitely changed. My right arm blew up, for lack of a better term. It blew to triple the size of my left arm. In comic book parlance, I was the Incredible Hulk in mid-transformation.
And if I might ask, what how did you I guess at the moment, what were your thoughts that were running in your head as it I guess as it kept going, as it kept growing? What were your thoughts in your head? Were you thinking, oh, this is something that's probably like really serious? This is something that could be cured quickly, or something that could be life changing or life altering, considering the situation that you're in?
I never had any sort of major health scare before. Major health scare. And so I was at first in a wait and see kind of mode. But as the day progressed, my wife and I could tell that this is something a little more serious. So we were able to get the kids down for bed. And then she took me to, and we found a babysitter for them, because there were six, and the twins were my older son was 6, and the twins were 2 years old at the time. So my wife took me to the emergency room. They admitted me immediately, and then they found out, well, not only do you have a giant right arm, you also have sepsis. And for those who don't know, sepsis is an exaggeration of the body to fight off infections. However, sepsis is fatal, or can be fatal. I don't want to say it is fatal, otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you. But it can be fatal. And so that was something else we had to watch out for. They couldn't get an accurate blood pressure reading on me, so they kept close watch on me overnight. And then in the morning, on Sunday morning, that attending doctor came in at 6:30 and said, "Mr. Gordon, this is beyond us. We can't help you here. Where do you want to go?" Well, I live in Minnesota. There's one place that popped in my head, and that's the Mayo Clinic. And Mayo actually popped in my head for two reasons. First of all, it's Mayo Clinic. And secondly, my wife's parents lived in Rochester, Minnesota, and they still do. And even my father-in-law was at the time a chaplain there, so I knew he had connections, and they lived about 10 minutes away from the hospital. So I knew that if Becky and the kids had to stay there, they could stay there easily for the 2 or 3 days this would take to resolve.
No, and especially in that situation, if you're getting tended quickly, you have to get that treatment as soon as possible. You can't delay it. And
And
sometimes,
so once I gave them the go-ahead to send me to Mayo, they flew me in a Cessna type plane to Rochester, and then they once I was in the hospital at Mayo at St. Mary's Hospital, they quickly diagnosed me with necrotizing fasciitis, and they immediately started giving me medications and getting me ready for surgery.
so they had to literally go into, I guess, did they have to I guess make the ball like smaller on your arm, like make the size of your arm smaller through surgery by going in there?
No, the ball of my arm had ballooned. It had enveloped my arm at the time. So by the time they were about to start surgery, it had grown from the back of my right hand all the way up my arm and enveloped my shoulder, my chest, and my back.
I could already see that. That sounds awful. I mean, that sounds like painful.
It's not a walk in the park.
A lot of swelling. I could see.
Yes, and I was also very lethargic and nauseous, not my usual jovial self. And also, I usually don't spend time in the hospital, so this is a new era for me to be this sick. So they got me ready for surgery. And have you ever seen the movie True Lies, David?
I've never seen it.
Okay. Well, just to give you a quick synopsis so this analogy makes sense, there is a part in the movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's a spy, and this is not a spoiler. This movie is 27 years old. He's a spy, and he's captured, and he's given a truth serum, which has made him kind of groggy, and he's kind of his head's lolling around. Kind of like Louise in Ant-Man and the Wasp. You've seen that movie. Well, Arnold proceeds to tell his captors how he's going to free himself and kill them. Well, as I was talking to the surgeon before my first surgery, I was like Arnold, except for the murder. I did not kill my surgeon, but I was very confident in what was going to happen. I was very gung-ho. I was like, let's do this. All right, let's go. He's usually not expecting that from his patients. He's expecting people to be worried, maybe some crying, and a lot of anxiety. I was the complete opposite. I was ready to go, and so they soon put me under, and I was under for about 5 days.
And then how long did it take you to fully recover from the injury?
Well, that's a good question. First, I had to wake up and realize that I was not at the bottom of a giant water slide, because I thought I was. That's the beauty of really strong painkillers. Some of them are also hallucinogenic. And I was hallucinating that I was at the bottom of a giant water slide. But once I got my head clear a little bit, my wife and the doctor started telling me what was going on. Basically, they had filleted me. They had taken the skin off of my back of my right hand, my arm, my shoulder, my chest, and my back. Here, I can actually show you here. And see, I look like a discount Deadpool.
Wow, that's incredible.
With the skin grafts. And then they even had to take a 15-inch by 4-inch flap of skin from my left thigh and place it at my right arm and hand. And since it's my thigh on my hand, I call it my fan.
I like that. Fan, that's a good term.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm sure I appear in all the medical journals. So once I had an idea what was going on, I was in the hospital for a little over 2 months, and then I spent 3 weeks after my discharge from the hospital in home therapy. And then after I was released from home therapy, I still participated in physical therapy until the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So from March to late November, I was receiving some sort of treatment for the necrotizing fasciitis and the skin grafts and the various surgeries.
And then how rare is it for someone to get NF? Do you have any idea?
Latest numbers I found was there are 650 cases worldwide annually. So it's very rare. And I know that there have been reports of people catching it, like Alex Smith from the Washington football team, the quarterback. He contracted it recently, and a number of other cases, but it really is rare.
I had no idea, honestly, that Alex Smith actually was diagnosed with it. I thought he had just a broken leg.
No, it was actually NF.
That's incredible.
Yes, and so it's nothing that you can. I mean, you should really worry. I mean, it's not like you're gonna go scrape your hand, you're gonna get NF. And the fact is because there was group A strep in the area when I scraped my hand, and that's what had happened. So it's not like everyone who gets strep is gonna get NF, but it happens enough where people know about it.
And then when you do your, I know you're a motivational speaker yourself. How does your audience react, and how do your students in the classroom that you teach react to you having NF? Do they ask questions about it? Do you feel comfortable answering those questions? How do you feel about it?
It really doesn't come up unless I bring it up, because I teach special education, and I usually work with students with autism. So we're usually working on their goals and their objectives, and I might use it as an example, but I don't bring it up, unless it's for a certain purpose. And since I work online, my students don't see me in person day to day. And I might wear a short sleeve shirt when I'm on camera, but the skin grafts, actually, I mean, you can just glance at them. You'd have to, my arm would have to stay still for a while for you to realize, whoa, that's different. So it's not like it comes up in the conversation, but that does help me segue, David, into talking about the mindset I developed when I was in the hospital. After a couple days of lucidity, when I came out of my coma, my wife started telling me about all the things that people were doing for me and my family while I was in the hospital. We had our neighbors, watch our house. We had various friends and colleagues from our respective schools, because my wife is a teacher as well. helping us in various ways. People would drop off toys and food to my in-laws' house while Becky and the kids were staying there. A friend from Becky's high school actually created a GoFundMe account that helped us with offsetting some medical costs or at least some lost wages, because after a while I had run out of sick days. And just hearing all of these wonderful things that people were doing for us helped me develop what I call the attitude of gratitude. And that has basically guided not only my recovery, but my purpose in being a professional speaker. It's because I feel that I had a choice to make. And I could either look at my situation, realizing that I would never be exactly the same again, and become morose, become angry, maybe develop some PTSD, and take my life down a darker path. Or I could develop some gratitude towards the fact that everyone was stepping up to help us, and become positive about my situation, start working towards a better future for myself, and eventually maybe motivate others to do the same. And that's what I chose to do.
That's awesome. It seems like you had a good head on your shoulders. You were positive the entire time. You you tried not to let it get to you. You kept positive. You were happy. And it shows a lot. Like I always tell people, your attitude radiates on so many others. If you're negative all the time, that negativity can radiate from person to person. Versus when you're positive all the time, it can same thing. It radiates. And
Yes.
I hate to use that term radiation because it's always a negative, but it's a good way to kind of describe it in a way. It radiates.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the sun radiates on us all the time, and we're able to live because of it. And so, radiation is a great thing, and I think that's a great way of using that word, David, is because you're right. Our outlook on life and our attitude does radiate outward. And if I were to get on social media and say, "Oh, this is awful. I look like a discount Deadpool. My volleyball block is not what it used to be," which doesn't really matter because I'm 5'8", and I can't really play volleyball that well in the first place,
Yeah.
so big deal. But you get what I'm saying, that if I were to get on, project a negative attitude to people, that's going to respond. They're going to respond to me in a, at first they might be, "Oh, it's okay," but they're going to get sick of me after a while. And, they still might get sick of me if I'm positive, but at the very least, it's more on them to reject my positivity than it is on me because of my negativity.
And then I know I've seen pictures of you where you run. How did you? I know. Were you a runner before NF, or did you start running after? And how did you cope with having to try to run again after the situation?
It's funny, David. That's a good question, by the way. I ran a Pi Day race the week before I was hospitalized. Now, Pi Day race is we're all us math geeks, and I use that term "us" math geeks because I'm not really good at math, but I just love this term. Pi is 3.14. A 5K is 3.1 miles. So a Pi Day race is 3.14 miles. I ran that in 19 minutes 29 seconds the week before I was hospitalized, and that's a low 6-minute mile average. So I was running well before I was hospitalized, but because of the attitude of gratitude, I started thinking more positively of my outlook and what I was going to do after I was discharged from the hospital. So in the hospital, I ordered myself new running shoes because I wanted to give myself a reason to get out on the road again. And the last day of my home therapy, as soon as I signed the paperwork and the nurse left, I put on those new shoes and I went for a run. And it was the worst mile of my life because while my mind was ready to go, my body had not run in 3 months. And it let me know in no uncertain terms that that was stupid.
I get
So
the
after
feeling.
that mile, I said a very bad word. I put my hands on my hips. I took some really deep breaths, and I walked the rest of the way home. But I needed that first mile to get the ball rolling. And after that first mile, I would start doing more workouts, but I would be smarter about it, and I would break up the run into a run-walk method. Now, at that time, my running was more like glorified walking, but it was still a pick up of the pace. And so I would run a block, walk a block, run a block, walk a block. And after a while, I started running 2 blocks and walking 1, and then 3, and then 4. And pretty soon, I was running nonstop. And that ability to build on the foundation I had laid for myself actually helped me run a few 5Ks within a few months of being discharged. And I actually placed second in my age division in a 10K in October while I was still in physical therapy.
And as far as NF, since I know since you're running, would you ever like, I guess, if they have some sort of a way where you can run for a cause where you run a certain amount of miles and then you can maybe help out by like, I guess not sort of asking people, but I mean just maybe seeing if people would help out with your cause and maybe donate towards a nonprofit that hosts battle people with NF, or
You know,
if
there are many different ways to do that. There's actually a Necrotizing Fasciitis Foundation 5K that is run every year, and of course, because of the pandemic, they had to do it virtual. So I did enter that, and the proceeds go toward the foundation, to help people with awareness and help people out in certain situations. I still have not run the actual race for that though, because I want to get to a point where I could run really well. I've been dealing with some hamstring issues that have plagued me for a number of years, even before I was in the hospital. And I want to put in a good time because one of my long-term goals is to qualify for the Boston Marathon. And so because there are no races right now, I decided, well, I'm going to use this time to start laying the groundwork, to keep up the base mileage while rehabbing my legs. And I'm also training for a black belt test in Taekwondo. I'm a recommended black belt, and I have
that
to
is awesome.
work on a few kicks. Thank you, to make sure I can pass my black belt test. So I'm using this time to train for those. But as soon as I get to the point where I know I can throw down a good 5K, I'm going to get that material I ordered from the NF Foundation 5K and use that. But yes, there are many ways you can use running to support different causes, and I know many people do.
And then you are also a co-author of your own book. Can you share that with us?
Yes, definitely. Thank you for asking. Yes, the book is called Blue Talks Presents Business, Life, and the Universe, Volume 3. A friend of mine named Corey Poirier, he's from Canada. He has started this group called Blue Talks, and he's a professional speaker. And he has gathered a number of people with inspirational stories into a couple different volumes of books. and this is the third volume, and it's in pre-order as we're talking. But as soon as they get enough orders in, they will start shipping them out. And if you're interested, you can check out the books at BlueTalksBook.com. And it was really interesting because I not always thought, I had been approached early in my recovery about writing a book. And at first, I toyed with the idea, but didn't really think seriously about it. But then when I started pursuing speaking, I thought, well, this might be something that could help me out in a couple different ways. But I wasn't at the point where I was ready to write a full-blown book yet. But Corey had approached me about this opportunity, and I thought it was a really good one because, A, it would get me into a book, and 2, I wouldn't have to really put in much more effort at the beginning. And I can tell my story, I can help advertise for the book, I can help plug it in my various podcasts and appearances like I'm doing now, but it would get my feet wet a little bit in the world of authoring.
That's awesome. It's actually one of the things that I'm actually looking forward to doing, because I've had people for so many years tell me, "Hey, you should write a book. You have all these experiences. You've overcome a lot in your life, and you've beaten so many obstacles." But for me now, it's just focusing on this, public speaking. I want to give people a platform where they can share their own stories, and so that people can see, hey, there's various people, various individuals with various physical, mental, any kind of disability, or you know, uh, or any kind of impairment, such as yours, with NF, that it's not the end all be all, that you can overcome that obstacle. You can beat the odds.
Yes, indeed. And while I'm not writing a book right now, I am working on an online course based on the attitude of gratitude, which is called the Attitude of Gratitude. And it's a 3-step or 3-week course that takes people through, the T, the A, and the G in the Attitude of Gratitude, or TAG for short. The first week we talk about thinking about all the good things in your life, and we practice doing that. And then we work in the A, which is acknowledging the appreciated. And then the third week we throw in the G, which is giving someone else a reason to be grateful. And I feel that this is something that not only the average person can do to increase their level of gratitude, but I'm looking towards working this into schools. Because I want to speak to schools, but this is an added feature I can offer schools, to use my message to help benefit others than myself. And not only would this benefit kids for, like, say, a couple days after they hear my talk, but they can practice this for the 3 weeks, for more than almost a month. And then hopefully by the end of that 3 weeks, it will, practice they keep doing after they stop watching my videos.
So, in regards to everything we've kind of covered, what is one message that you'd like to leave the audience with? Like, what is something that you want to emphasize for them to know? Like, anything positive you like to share? Any words?
Well, 2 things. First of all, I want to share with people, always take count of good things in your life, not only the big things, but the small things, because it's really the small things in our lives that bring us that daily joy. I am thankful for my faith, my family, my house, my job, but also I like my Guardians of the Galaxy, phone case.
Yeah,
I
that's awesome.
like my Flash water bottle. I like the way that I sit in my chair, how it feels. I like the way my shoes feel on my feet. I like this multi-purpose clip. It's a chip clip, or it can hold up a microphone, or it could hold some wires up. I like having this in my life. And the more you're able to appreciate the things that you have in your life, the richer you're going to be. I am by no means rich. I don't have a Scrooge McDuck money bin in my backyard. But when I think about all the things I have in my life, I consider myself rich because I'm so thankful for the things I do have. And so I want people to do that is, at the very least, be thankful for everything that you do have, because no life is perfect. And you can either count all the bad things, all the things that are gone wrong, all the things you don't have, or you can count all the things you do have and realize you have more than you thought.
And you have to. Oh, I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
David.
And you have to realize some of the things that you do have can't be replaced. Like family members and people close to you. So
Yes.
definitely, like you said, you definitely have to cherish them.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of things that aren't perfect, that goes to my second point, which is pass on perfection and go for greatness. We are inundated daily by pictures of perfection, whether it be on TV or on the internet or in movies, of things that are picture perfect, that we should aspire for that perfection. But even if we do attain that perfection, it is fleeting. It does not last. And people have analysis paralysis because of it. They think, I can't make this perfect. I might as well not try. But you can't do that. You can't live your life always seeking perfection in everything. You just have to go out and do it. And that's something that I'm working on right now with myself, by not worrying that I'm the perfect speaker, not worrying that my course does not look as good as, say, Brendan Burchard's course. I just need to do it. I just need to do my best and get it out there. And by doing my best and being consistent in my practice, I may once in a while reach perfection, but I will always be great.
I love that. I love the mindset you have with everything going on. Um, I love your story in general is really really awesome. The fact that you've been able to overcome this and you're still pushing forward, which is very important, especially in today's day and age and what we're dealing with now with COVID and being at home. It's just a matter of having a very strong mindset, being thankful for what you have. And I look forward to seeing you be very successful in the course you're creating. And I hope to eventually get myself a copy of that book. And if it's possible, I'd like to get your autograph too once I get a copy. So that way I
That'd
can
be great.
have it. And I definitely appreciate you being on today and sharing your story.
Well, David, the pleasure is all mine. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and allowing me to be on your show. I really enjoyed having you on my podcast a couple weeks ago, and I would love to sign a book for you. That'd be great.
And
Make that happen.
awesome. I look forward to it. And then where can your audience find you? Like any information about you, or where can they book you? I know you might be interested in speaking with other schools and organizations.
Yes, thank you for asking. I have a Linktree account that houses my speaker hub and my professional website, as well as my podcast, my YouTube channel, my Facebook, my Instagram, LinkedIn, and a couple other things. That's at linktr.ee/Chris DT Gordon. Again, that's linktr.ee/Chris DT Gordon, Gordon. And there you can find all the links that I have there. It's a really nice place to house all my different, social media outlets. And then, yeah, you definitely reach out to me using the Speaker Hub or the professional website, and you can see what else I'm up to.
And then I will also make sure to post this in the next when I upload the video and then the podcast as well, so you guys have access to it easily. Um, with all that being said, Chris, I really appreciate you being on the show. I definitely appreciate everybody that does listen to the podcast consistently, and always remember, if I can do it, so can you.